In finding the limit of cosine squared of x divided by 2 to the x, let us apply the method of squeeze theorem. Squeeze theorem or sandwich theorem says if you have a function like f of x, which is less than or equals to another function like g of x, and this function is less than equals to h of x. So you can squeeze g of x between two functions like f and h if the limit of f of x is equal to the limit of h of x as x goes to a, both of them are equals to L, then the middle function has no other choice except for having the same limit. So the limit of g of x must be equals to L as x goes to a. So our goal is to find two nicer functions, f and h, that we know how to deal with. We need to come up with these two easier functions that have a behavior that we can easily analyze. Let us go back to cosine squared. Function cosine squared has upper bound and lower bound. Cosine squared of x is bounded between 0 and 1. So since cosine squared of x is bounded between 0 and 1, if we divide everything by 2 to the x, then we know how to analyze the left and the right function. Divide all terms by 2 to the x. So you end up with 0 divided by 2 to the x, cosine squared of x divided by 2 to the x, and 1 divided by 2 to the x. 2 to the x, 2 to the x, and 2 to the x. What happens is, on the left-hand side, you end up with 0. The middle function is the function that you have cosine squared of x divided by 2 to the x divided by the function on the right-hand side is 1 divided by 2 to the x. So this is your h of x. This is your f of x. These are familiar functions. You already know how to deal with these. And the middle function is g of x. From squeeze theorem, since the limit of 0 is equal to the limit of 1 over 2 to the x, which is also 0, limit of 0 is equal to the limit of 2 to the x, while x goes to infinity, both of these functions are equal to 0, so by squeeze theorem, the limit of the middle function, which is cosine squared of x, divided by 2 to the x, as x goes to infinity, must be 0 as well. This is 2 to power x, not 2 times x. So applying squeeze theorem for a regular function like cosine squared of x divided by 2 to the x. Again, these are some important theorems that you need to feel comfortable. Later on, when you're taking multivariable calculus, you can use a squeeze theorem for multivariable functions as well. But again, our goal is to squeeze a complicated or complex function between two simpler functions that we already know how to deal with.